Today's Sounds magazine is starting the week in a most extraordinary way because we are interviewing Mr. Joe Lovano. Mr. Lovano, thanks for giving us this interview.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Joe Lovano is one of the most outstanding saxophonists of the last decades. We want to ask you about your background. Your father was a musician, a very good musician, and we want to know in which way that was important in your decision to start playing saxophone.
Well, the saxophone has been a part of my life from the very beginning. My dad was a professional musician around Cleveland, Ohio, was a great saxophone player, grew up in the swing and modern jazz, bebop eras. He was born 1925, okay? This period gave birth to so many great musicians. John Coltrane, Miles Davis were born 1926, you know? Max Roach and others were all born in this period, you know? So my father grew up in this generation of musicians, and around Cleveland, Ohio, there was a lot of music happening. And his brothers also played. My Uncle Nick played tenor saxophone. My Uncle Joe played the tenor saxophone. My Uncle Carl plays the trumpet. So I grew up in an incredible family of music. Now my father, Tony, Big T, they called him, was the most modern player, right? He embraced Charlie Parker's music and heard Charlie Parker play live. He heard Lester Young play live when they came through Cleveland. He played with Tad Dameron and others, you know. So when I was very young, as a teenager especially, I heard all these stories and had my father's record collection, which had Coleman Hawkins and Ben Webster and John Coltrane and Lester Young records, Miles Davis records, Sonny Rollins records. So I grew up listening to this music and being inspired by hearing my dad play, because he would practice. He would play a lot at home before he would go to gigs and things. So his sound was like this, you know. His sound vibrated the house when he played, because he was coming from Illinois Jacquet and Gene Ammons. Him and Gene Ammons were friends, you know. They played at jam sessions together, you know. So he had a real incredible sound. So I grew up hearing that sound. So when I began to play, I knew what I had to reach for in this production of a tone and to learn the music, you know?
We talked the other day, we interviewed the other day Scott Hamilton.
Oh yeah? Great, beautiful player, man.
Yeah, he explained a little bit what you are telling us. It's very nice, those years. Our next question is that you never stop looking for new ways of expression through your saxophone, your tenor sax, and we want to know where these peculiar sounds come from and what's the origin of this harmonic coloring you have.
Well, as you develop as a player, you not only study the music, you study the players, you develop your own way of playing from the people you play with and where you travel, okay? Now, when I say where you travel, not only where you travel musically when you study how to play or what to play, but where you travel as an international touring musician. So through the years, I've had a chance to play in the Orient, in the Middle East, in Africa, in North America, South America, all over Europe. So you meet people, you play with people from everywhere. You feel the music, the natural music, the organic music of the folk influences in everyone's music, you know. The music in Spain, the flamenco, is different than when you go to France, and the music in France of the natural folk music, you know. When you play in North Africa or places that the people express who they are through the music they play. This is something that is what jazz is all about. Jazz music is an organic, alive music. It's a process of how to play, how to be who you are. So you asked me about these colors and these influences. It's from living life. You know, Charlie Parker said you have to live it to play it. And that's exactly true. So I've developed a way of playing, and I'm still developing. I feel I'm at the beginning of trying to really express myself from my heart and soul on my instruments. But it really comes from your relationships and associations with people that create the music that you play and try to explore, you know?
Our next question is about working for Blue Note. Is any jazz musician's dream, but is it also a lot of pressure?
Well, the pressure really is to be as honest a musician you can every time you play with the different ensembles and the different groupings of personalities, to be spontaneous, to be a free musician, okay? I don't just play free jazz. I play jazz free. So it's not pressure, but it's a challenge to try to be as expressive as possible. Now, to record and document who you are at the moment is a challenge. To not try to tell someone else's story, whether you record for Blue Note Records or whatever label you record for, the whole idea of creating music that is today from your history, your personal history, and that includes everything you love, all the people that you love to listen to, teach you, you know. To create music and to develop on your instrument, you really have to dig deep and have roots in many places so you can blossom, you know? So for me, recording for Blue Note Records as a very young player developing was something that was a dream. And Blue Note Records did not exist from like the early 70s until 1985. Blue Note Records catalog existed with the great records of Sonny Rollins and Miles Davis and Hank Mobley and Lee Morgan and John Coltrane and Andrew Hill and Herbie Hancock and Wayne Shorter and Freddie Hubbard and Bud Powell and Thelonious Monk, Jimmy Smith. I grew up with all these records. Stanley Tarantine, you know? So when I was developing after my teenage years, Blue Note Records was not there to produce new recordings, right? They were releasing Jackie McLean records and other records that had been recorded in the 60s, you know, in the 50s. In 1985, Bruce Lundvall became president of the new Blue Note Records, restructuring of the famous label. And around 1989, 90, I did my first recordings for Blue Note with John Scofield Quartet, which led to my first recordings as a leader with Blue Note around 1991. Now, last month, From the Soul was my second. Landmarks was my first. And From the Soul was my second with Ed Blackwell and Michelle Petrucciani on piano, and Dave Holland on bass. You know?
Was it a turning point in your career?
It was I don't know, turning point, but it was a continuation of a flowing development, you know. It definitely, it put me in a certain light in the media and on the scene, recording like this quartet for Blue Note, you know. Just last month I finished recording my 23rd record for Blue Note since 1991, which I'm very proud of, and is with my quintet Us Five, with special guest Lionel Luecki on guitar. And it's the third recording of my quintet Us Five, you know. So I've had a long, beautiful, developing recording career with Blue Note, and have been able to document so many different situations with the people that I'm playing with at the moment along the way. You know?
Could we say that saxophonists have a different understanding of music?
Well, than what? Than piano players or drummers or trumpet players? I don't know, different understanding, because you have to understand what each other is doing to play jazz, to create together. I play the saxophone, but piano players taught me how to play the saxophone. Drummers taught me how to play the saxophone. Not only listening to them and trying to understand what they do, but to communicate together. You have to dig each other and know what's happening, you know? Now, the saxophone players throughout history have been some of the leading voices in the music and have developed different directions and ways of playing that have led and set the pace in a certain way, speaking from the very beginning with Coleman Hawkins, you know? But if you really study the music and the people, you realize that Art Tatum and Coleman Hawkins were parallel in their ways of playing and how they inspired each other. I'm sure Coleman Hawkins loved Art Tatum and listened to him and saw him play, and the same went for Art Tatum digging Coleman Hawkins, you know. So it's a process, I think, embracing each other, you know. But if you name a few saxophone players like Coleman Hawkins and Ben Webster and Lester Young and Flip Phillips, Charlie Parker, Don Byas, Coltrane, Sonny Rollins, Johnny Griffin, Hank Mobley, Joe Henderson, Wayne Shorter, Ornette Coleman, every name you say, you hear their sound. You hear their way of playing. And this is very important in the study of the saxophone, is to embrace all the amazing music that has been developed and realize the love and passion that all those cats played with.
Let's talk about the allochrome. We don't have it with you last night.
No, it's difficult to travel these days with too many horns, you know. Even just to bring the tenor saxophone on the plane sometimes is a problem.
But because of security?
Well, because of not only security, but all the airlines now are trying to have people not bring too many things. And it's hard if you have to put your horn under the plane. I know people that only travel with a mouthpiece, and they have a horn delivered to the concert hall, you know? So it's difficult to bring too many instruments. But the alachrome, the horn you're speaking, is the first woodwind instrument that you can harmonize on. It's made by Francois Louis in Brussels. And I've had over the last 5 years now and been developing a way of playing on this and recording, trying to document pieces written for this instrument. But now I'm at a point where I could play whatever I want, you know. It's made very beautiful, right? In its conception and the way it's put together technically. It has one keyboard down the center of the instrument. There's two bodies put together, two mouthpieces with two reeds put together, okay? So if I want to play on one body, I turn the mouthpiece and I play on one reed. I use this body on this side, the right body, to play my single ideas and lines. When I play two together, I harmonize on the left body, and it's made in a way where each key is made in two parts. There's a top half that controls this body. Bottom half controls this body. So when you play and you release the bottom parts of keys, it opens tone holes on this body. So if I'm playing down the horn and I play an F in unison, and I release, let's say, the two keys on this body, the F and the G, it releases keys here and it plays an A on this horn and an F on this horn. So you have to develop a technique and a way of playing where you know what's happening on the instrument. But you can harmonize throughout your ideas in a very free manner, you know? So it's a whole beautiful exploration. You know?